All right. Welcome to the Geo Scheduling Call, Tuesday, July 21st. And Akriti, I think, yeah, you just volunteered to share your screen, so thank you very much for doing that.
Hey, I will now say the infamous, can you see my screen? Apparently that's what we say now. Okay, I'm sure everybody can see my screen.
Yeah, you might need to refresh the board there. I think it's updated a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, verification column is empty. Great. Okay, let's start with clothes section. Is Gabriel here at all? No.
He isn't. I can provide an update on that real quick. He went through and tried to reproduce the issue and wasn't able to, so left a comment for the issue author, but closed it out for now. And I think if they can still reproduce it, just suggested to reopen the issue.
Okay, cool. Then we have from Jenny. Let me just open up here now.
Yeah, this is related to the SSH on staging, geostaging, so it's working now. Sorry, you've already got to the next one, but that was what my ticket was.
Is this
I
the one?
I think your tabs got mixed up.
Yeah, I think I lost one. This was the one we were talking about. Okay.
Yes.
So we have working. Okay.
So, yep.
This from Zach.
Yep. Yeah, there was some missing classes in GitLab UI that I had to add, and then I went back and followed up and replaced some of them. So just a technical debt change here.
Cool. This one is mine. There is now a force mode in promote to primary node check, so that even if pre-flight checks fail, you would be asked, you still want to go ahead, and you can go ahead. Especially useful when you're actually having a disaster. So that is in now, complete with the documentation. Okay, next we have from Douglas. And more from Douglas, who is not here right now. Does anybody have updates on this?
Yeah, I can. So this one Douglas noticed that on staging, backfill takes too long because we have selective sync on, and it's only a very, very small fraction of the projects that are being synced. And just based on the architecture that we're using, that means that the backfill process kind of almost never finds work to do. So it thinks, oh, there's not much work to do on this instance. I'll just exit and wait for the next cron minute. But then it makes it take too long to get through all the records. So we just bumped up the batch size, and it should kind of be a stopgap for now.
Okay, cool. And we can reopen it if it's needed. Okay. Enable feature flag to make registry table single source of truth for projects and wikis. Does anybody have updates on this? I guess it's done and it's merged.
Yeah, it is what it sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah, and that did, I think there was some concern that it might not be enabled in time for the release, but that actually did make the release. So pretty exciting to have that out. Yep.
Yeah.
This is Jenny's.
Yeah, this is the upgrade that we did last week. At the same time as looking at the upgrade instruction for downtime issues. So yeah, I made follow-up issues as a result of this.
Okay. Cool. Oh, the video link is here. That's very nice. Oh.
Yeah, sorry, just real quick. I just want to make a note too. So we had some of those follow-up, because I think this was related to the zero downtime testing. And so I think we had talked about last week, some follow-up issues had been created, and I've tentatively moved those to 13.4 so we can prioritize testing GitLab cluster on a geosecondary and anything that kind of comes, and anything related to Patroni on the secondary. But if those happen to get done soon enough, we can kind of move those back, those investigations back into 13.3.
Okay, cool. This is from Gabrielle. I guess it is mostly merged.
Yeah, I think that was just a small change to move the tasks that were added in 13.2 into the GitLab Geo namespace while still there, so that we didn't have to add a add a deprecation notice for those.
Yeah. Our maintenance mode application settings field. That's great. Finally, we're getting maintenance mode. Who is this by? Again, Gabriel?
Yeah, I merged this one. It's yeah, so the database fields are in place. So all of the following maintenance mode work should be unblocked. You can just key off the database field now for whether it should be enabled or not. And the database field thing is like backstage or whatever. So it's not being used because the front end, I think, is feature flagged already and not necessarily hooked up. But anyways, the rest of the work is unblocked. So that's good.
Cool.
Yeah, and all that's, as you can see on the screen, has been moved to 13.4. I think we had brought this in when maintenance mode was a slightly higher priority, but it is nice to, as Mike said, get this one out of the way now, so that the rest of the work can be unblocked when we get to it.
Okay. This is from Zach. Fix vertical alignment.
Yep. Yeah. So this was an issue from a year ago, but there was some misalignments of some of the icons, and I also took the time and I refactored some of the legacy code here for our node actions to kind of get them up to the style guidelines.
Cool. I will take this off because I think it's done. This is also from Zach.
Yep. Yeah. So this was like a side effect of refactoring that file, as I found out that there was a bunch of these like generated issues to get rid of deprecated stuff. And so I just coincidentally also closed this out by doing that refactor.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And then, so this is another old one. We kind of just showed we didn't have any logic around some of the front end generated errors. And one of them was, it didn't make much sense to say that the version didn't match the primary node on the primary node when an error like this popped up. So just added some logic here to not let that error show up on the primary.
Okay. That's another one similar to the feature flag for projects and wikis. So I guess it does what it says. Use registry table for project wikis is a little while getting node status. I guess this would have been a precursor to the feature flag, or rather this is what is behind the feature flag. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike, you have any more to say to it. I think it's just a continuation of moving other data types over to use, to kind of use this new, I guess, style of, or to use the tables as a single source.
Like architecture.
New architecture. Thank you.
This is more of that work, and it was merged. So happy about that.
Okay. I see it's part of the big scalability epic that Douglas has been working for. It's super huge, and I think many of these things got closed in 13.2, which is cool.
Yeah.
This was a small technical debt. There was an option we were not using in the promote to primary command, so I removed it, and I think also improved the documentation for one of them. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so that's everything that we closed, which is quite a bit. And now quite a lot of things in the view as well. Let's start with this. Okay. Geo end-to-end testing on staging and vigorous match. This is
That's me. It's just a bug in the test code that you wouldn't see unless the first attempt failed, which it was on staging. So it's just fixing some of the code.
okay. Data registry. I think this is continuing work for the other things that we sort of listed. Yeah. This is one of the new data type replications. So this is one from Toon. This is from Alex. Is Alex here? This one. Maybe I can give us data on both of these because I've been working closely with both of them. Were you saying something, Nick? Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. Go ahead. I think Alex did leave a comment on that one as well.
So this one is from Toon, and let me just see where we are. Okay. So the idea is we're working on these three data types: external MR, diffs, Terraform states, and vulnerability exports. And we couldn't release it in 13.2 because there was a lot of work to still be done. Plus, we wanted to put this behind a feature flag. We still have to figure out sync object storage or no, and selective sync. And I think on his MR, there is still some work to do. There are some review comments I think he's looking into. That's where this is. And I think he still has to work on selective sync, if I'm not mistaken. On Terraform state, he's already worked on selective sync. He's just working on using the new feature flag setup, which is something that I can show you in my MR, which is here. So I'll give a quick update on this one as well. Here, I have, I think, a few MRs on this, some to update the set service framework documentation because we found a lot of things that had to be different, and it's we basically collected a lot more things in that documentation. So it's going to be easier to add new replication on. And feature flags have been added in a way that any new data type that is where replication is added, it can be disabled by default. Or enabled by default. And of course, when we release first, we have the option of just disabling it by default, which is what we're doing for these three data types. And on this one, I'm waiting for maintainer reviews on my MRs as well. And yeah, that's where these three are. They will definitely make it into 13.3. We're pretty far ahead with them. Okay.
So, yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for the summary. And yeah, I just want to say, yeah, even though I think we were hoping for it to be in 13.2 and it missed, yeah, it seems like everyone made really great progress just this last week on it. And so it's nice to see everything moving along quickly and that there's, yeah, and that it seems like there's a pretty clear idea of what needs to happen to wrap everything up. So yeah, thanks for everyone who's working on those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. Thank you, Kriti. And so this one was a bug for the package file implementation. Yeah, so now we properly exclude remote stored files if sync object storage is disabled. Therefore, staging is now fixed. It now shows package files as nothing to sync because they're all object stored. So that one's right. So the reason that that issue's still open, I think, was because, can you scroll down a little bit? I needed to do, yeah. So I made registry consistency worker work properly, so then things will get to the right place. but we also need to make the events, the create events not run if the thing is object stored. So a new package file will come in, it'll try to replicate it, but it shouldn't have, it'll fail, and then the other process will come around and remove it. So I still need to fix that piece.
Okay.
And there's a separate issue for that one, or are you doing it as part of?
No, that's why that one's still open. I don't know.
Okay.
I just didn't open another issue for
Okay.
the two pieces.
Okay, add package files to status rate tasks. Valerie is working on this. I think this comes out of one of my tasks before, so maybe I can give a small update on this. So the status rate task and the check replication verification status only shows everything that we had before package files. So every time we have new things replicated, we should go add them, which is what he's done for package files, yeah. And looks like there's only one MR to be merged. So basically done. We just need some decision on, okay, first we need, yeah, this is merged. Okay, so I guess it's in progress. Exclude remote store attachment. Mike, do you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, this is kind of the similar problem as that package file one. So this was fixed. The fix is in. It actually missed. Did this one miss? Yeah, so it's in 13.3. I think the MR has a. This shouldn't be in review anymore. Okay, yeah. So anyways, there's two parts to this too, because I was trying to get the actual fix in to fix 13.2. But yeah, I have an MR open for adding the tests, and that's waiting for review.
This is also related to the external MR divs replication work. So
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike. Did you say that the main fix did make 13.2 or didn't?
I can't remember if it did or not. Could you click on the MR linked in the
It says 13.2.
Okay, yeah, it did make it, so that's good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just gonna say if not, then just wanted to check that we had to maybe pick into 13.2 on there if we needed it.
Yeah, and this
Thank
was
you.
over 6 days ago, so it's been
Cool.
in production for 5 days. So it should be okay.
Yay! All right.
Okay. Breadcrumbs missing GeoNodes part.
Yep. Yeah. This change here was pretty simple. It's in review right now for maintainer, but we're just missing like that middle layer between admin and geo nodes or the edit nodes. So yeah, pretty simple change.
Sign-in doesn't work on a secondary with relative URL. I think this was just a bug, and I am reviewing this ML right now. But I don't know anything more than that. In the logs, we see that the relative URL path is duplicated in the redirect URL. Okay, so it's a bug fix. That's all I know.
Yeah, this was something that I think came from a support ticket for a customer trying to set up Geo, and just want to say thanks, Valerie, for really digging into it. And there was quite the long Slack thread, I think, kind of investigating this. So looks like a fix has been found. So nice work there.
This is blocked. Enable feature flag to make it. He hasn't said anything, but I'm just guessing it might be blocked because there's another related which you might need for the feature flag to work.
Yeah, the other part isn't merged yet, so we can't test it and enable it yet.
Okay. Do we go through the in-dev issues as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's get all of Jenny's out first.
Yeah, I can start. So the first two are just quad planning issues. Right now we're trying it at the epic level. So I create an issue for each milestone if there's any issues open for that epic or due for that milestone. Yeah, so I'm just updating the testing section of the epics. So that's for the self-service framework. And then the next one is the, I think it's the other, yeah. Oh yeah, that's with Petroni on the secondary. So I'll be updating that. The next one is testing the Gitly cluster on a Geo secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just working on setting up the system for that.
Okay, cool. Nice. Then we have this one is from Valerie. Mike, could you tell us something about this?
I added GeoActive to this issue because Valerie, while investigating the other thing, found the solution for this. So he opened an MR. So it should resolve it. The proposal is kind of not really necessary because he's got a one-line fix for the problem. So I just made it active and assigned Valerie since he's got that MR open.
Okay. This is from me. I haven't updated the description yet. Okay, so this is for checking sync object storage and excluding remote stored records. I've just barely started on this issue, so there's not much time. Configure a Petroni standby cluster on secondary replicate from time. Does anybody have updates on this? Because Gabriel and Fabian.
Yeah, I can provide an update. So yeah, first of all, thanks. Gabriel has signed up to take engineering ownership of the epic that this is a part of. The secondary nodes should support Postgres HA, which is really, I guess, at the core, trying to figure out how to use Petroni on the secondary. And so this is, there are quite a few issues in that epic, but this is, I think, kind of the core one, which is we want to figure out how to configure a Petroni standby cluster on the secondary to replicate from the primary and see, just kind of see what's required to support that, what kind of documentation, maybe omnibus updates need to come out of that. So he just pulled that into development today, but that's a very high priority one for this milestone. And also, I just wanted to note, thank you, Jenny, for going through these issues and adding to the descriptions. And I know you had some questions in there. So now that Gabriel has taken ownership of the epic, I'll ping him as well to help collaborate on some of the testing stuff and questions that you raised, if that sounds okay. Cool.
Okay. This is from Douglas. Remove Geo and Geo Plomo. Okay, so does anybody have a date on this?
Yeah, this will just kind of be tech debt, basically. Yeah, removing more stuff after we change things.
Okay, I'm just gonna add the label here because I love to see that.
Yeah, I think he had started on it a couple weeks ago, but just I think decided to prioritize some of the other like, I guess, core architectural work and prioritize this later since it wasn't as necessary for the release. Just.
Okay. So this is a bug. Mike, can you tell us about this?
It was a bug that, like, I think support kind of found or dug into a bit more. So I don't actually personally know too much about what needs to be done. Yeah.
On the
Yeah,
list, it sounds like a
yeah, I think I can speak to it a little bit. It's also something I think I had noticed it in doing that design thumbnails fix a while back, and yeah, there's this kind of this problem with the authorization headers when you're um, when you're downloading from the primaries S3. And I think Valerie had also fixed something similar in a different issue a while back. And I think it just kind of needs to be applied to maybe just to LFS files. I don't know if that sounds right to you, Mike, but either way, I think he's taken it, Valerie has taken it on since he has already sort of dealt with similar issues.
Do you know if this address was for 13.2? Because then we should remove it.
Yeah, yeah, I think we can take that off. Really what, and this is probably something we need to adjust in our process. I think we had talked about trying to use health statuses more of for like an indicator of how long something was in a column, not necessarily like whether it was at risk or needs attention for a milestone. So I think in that sense, like it's been in the in-dev column for a while, but and yeah, and so we can kind of leave it there. But I don't know. It's the more we like, I haven't done a great job of keeping up with those labels, and so we probably need to revisit how we're like what we're doing for this process.
I would still remove at risk because it's the start of the milestone. It's really not at risk yet.
Right. Yeah.
And leave it at node status so he can update it if he needs. But it looks like it's been at risk because it missed a few milestones. So should be okay. I think he will get a notification for the change in health status. So if he needs to act on that, he will. Okay. Verify geo installation with Patroni and Postgres 11. And Nick is working on this.
Yeah, I can talk about that. And then the other one that's kind of under it, moving a geo deployment from Rep Manager to Patroni is kind of related. Yeah, so I think this was meant to like verify a fresh geo install. Sort of what I ended up doing was using the orchestrator to do a geo deployment that used Rep Manager, and then kind of convert that, which we already had in, or I guess migrate it from Rep Manager to Patroni, which was kind of a faster way to go about this setup. And I think still uncovered kind of the core issues with using Patroni and Geo, at least in a single node secondary, which is that Patroni uses replication slots to manage its cluster members. So it will, like, anytime you restart Patroni, it will like delete the replication slot for the secondary. And then there are also concerns about like a failover in the Patroni cluster and the secondary not knowing to which Patroni member to point to. So this was also, Hossein also demoed this for the distribution team and wrote up a pretty nice summary of what the core issue is. The kind of the result of all of this is that we have a follow-up issue to explore replication slots or explore permanent replication slots as a solution. We've kind of done this testing. The main thing that's left for me here and why I still have it in dev is just that I want to make an MR to the geo validation tests documentation page, just kind of pointing to the issue and I guess maybe calling this a partial success, like we were able to sort of get it set up, but and get it working. But there's also some of these some major issues here that where we can't really recommend supporting. Like we can't officially like recommend using Patroni yet. I think now what we're going to do is shift focus to supporting Patroni on the secondary, since I think that's really where a lot of the primary interest in using Patroni comes from. And then we'll, once we get that handled, we'll shift focus back to trying to get it to work with a single node secondary.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Zach?
Yep. So Mike and I had a call about this morning, and so this is kind of the solution we came up to instead of rewriting the RESTful API. If anyone had followed that thread, of there was conversation around creating a new or updated RESTful API in lieu of creating a GraphQL API, and based on our conversations, we found a way that we could avoid touching the API altogether and instead kind of use our controllers to pass the relevant data to the front end. For this is for geo status bars, by the way.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and contribute on the back end here and pick this up.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to this, Nick, or?
No, but yeah, it's kind of a similar. It's very related to what I just talked about, but it was just a separate issue, specifically to move an existing geo deployment from Rep Manager to Patroni. So I'm planning to just add some documentation that should kind of cover both of those issues and move them and then close them both at the same time. I think, and maybe I'll hear something about it when Fabian gets back. I think I kind of went a little out of order of the epic. I think we were kind of skipped to this creating a sufficient reference architecture part of it, which I think we had decided we could also just do with Orchestrator. So I'll probably update that as well. Just kind of with some of the steps that we took. Yeah, I expect to close both those out at the same time.
I guess the milestone needs to be updated, right? To 30 and 30.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay, and I think that was it. Okay. I guess Fabian needs to go through the ready for development, right?
Yep, and I can take over and go through that now. Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Akriti, for sharing your screen. So yeah, let me share mine and go through the ready for development column. So it's a little, so I'll say this, the first like 3 or 4 are pretty representative of kind of the high priorities. After that, it gets a little scattered, and part of that is because we sort of know that we have this high priority or these high priority additional data type epics in progress, and we know that each of them have engineering owners, but it's kind of hard to like, I didn't really get a sense. It's kind of hard to like prioritize them. So I'll have a question to ask all of you in a little bit about maybe how we should handle those sorts of issues, because it's something I've noticed come up before too. But real quick, I'll just go over some of the top priorities here in the ready for development column. Top one is creating a runbook style documentation for failover with 2 sites, single node geo omnibus managed database. And that's part of this epic for simplifying our planned failover documentation. So I will also say that we could use an engineering owner for this. And this is part of our disaster recovery viable maturity. And it right now it just consists of, excuse me, these 2 issues, which are improving our documentation for a failover in these configurations. So right now the documentation is a little jumpy, as noted in the description here. And what we want to do is say, okay, here are some supported common configurations, and here are the step-by-step instructions on how to fail over for these configurations. So that is a high priority. I think it's one of those ones that kind of keeps getting overlooked in the ready for development column. So I pushed it to the top just to highlight its importance. And after that, we have our first issue for the snippet replication implementation for self-service framework. Thanks, Mike, for volunteering to be the engineering owner on this one. So I just went ahead and added what I thought might be the place to start here, but Mike, you might want to take a look, and it might be some, and maybe recommend a better one for us to start with here.
Okay. Yeah, that one sounds good to me.
Okay.
To start with.
Cool. Yeah. So that's another big epic that we want to get started on in 13.3. And then this is a S2 bug fix that I think we've had in the ready for development column for a while. So I kind of moved that up a little higher for visibility. And then after that, we have issues related to additional data types. Let's see. Oh, okay. We have this follow-up, I think, from what Akriti, from what you worked on in the pre-flight checks for failover, as well as another investigation item. But I think my main question here is, okay, so we have these issues for data types, and we've kind of added a lot of them here, and it's like we know that these epics are being worked on, and that they're high priority, and that they generally have an assignee, which is the engineering owner for the epic. So like, for example, Akriti, for these ones here, like, does it make sense for them to be in ready for development if we kind of like know that you're assigned to them and that they're part of this epic that's already in progress? Or do we maybe like just move them on into the ready for development column sort of when the next item in that epic is ready? Like, I'm not, I guess I'm kind of asking, like, what's the best way to handle these sorts of issues as far as the ready for development column is concerned?
These are by status ready for development. They are planned out, and they are important for 13.3. So it makes sense to have them here. Usually what we were doing was Fabian would put a few new issues here that were going to be worked on for the next week. So I'm not sure all of these will be worked on in the next week, but since they are ready and they're planned out, they should be here, I guess. If you want to highlight more the issues that are not assigned to anybody, we could maybe move them up because, they don't have priority labels, so it doesn't say anything about priority. So that is fine with me as well. There are also corresponding issues that Alex is working on, by the way, for Terraform State. They just don't have Geo active yet. So this column will become larger with those issues. But
and I think that's kind of my question is, do we want, I think we've generally tried to keep the column, like you said, kind of representative of what can be worked on the next week. And maybe if there are all those things and they can move pretty quickly, we can do that. But like you said, once we apply Geo active and ready for development to the equivalents that that Alex and Tona are working on, this column becomes pretty long. And so once you get past maybe the first few items, it's hard to get a sense of what the priorities are.
I see. Then we could move back a few of my issues into open.
Okay.
I can do that. I'll just look at the ones that are in GeoActive and move back all except for 2 or 3 into open. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. And just, anyone else have any thoughts on that? I think it's yeah, it's kind of just I don't know if it's like it's kind of a general question too on how to handle this column and how everyone looks at it. So also don't want to I'm not necessarily putting out a suggestion here either.
I think it makes sense to do it that way, because the ready for development column is just like, if you are ready to work and you don't have work, and there's for some reason you don't have any work, you pick from the top ideally. So I think it makes sense. It's okay to move stuff to open if, you know, they're going to be handled and we already know what to do for those. Does that make sense? So I agree with Akriti moving some of them back out of ready for development.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you refresh, I have moved some of the issues I'm going to be working on into open.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. So really in that sense, yeah, we if something is kind of has someone assigned or might not be in the first few items, it's okay to be in open. Yeah, thanks for that. I think other than that, yeah, so we have some of these, I guess, in the holding tanks, so to speak, in open, kind of like we know what's happening with them. One that I'm a little uncertain about, and let's see, yeah, Josh, you're still on the call. Maybe you can provide some insight here. I think we were going to verify Geo with Postgres 12 with the assumption that it was making 13.2. I think I saw that it wasn't quite going to be in the release for 13.2.
From the rest, she'll know better, as course will, like, you know, DJ or Steven. But the update I have is that it just missed, and so it's probably merged at this point in time. But it just missed the branch.
Okay, so we could probably still like test it with a nightly build or something like that if we wanted to.
You have to use like a different package.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll leave it here. I think since it won't, I think we have quite a few other pretty high priorities. I'll leave it here so we don't lose track of it. It may, unless you think otherwise, it may move towards the end of the milestone, or maybe even beginning of 13.4 once it becomes available in the 13.3 package. But if we can verify ahead of time, we'll try to.
Yeah, if we can. It also might be good to connect with the distribution team, but I think they're trying to hit upgrade stories for multi-node in 13.3 for Postgres 12, I believe. So that'll be, you know, probably a pretty wider audience that we want to, you know, enable for PG12. But you know, if Geo support doesn't test it until 13.4, it's probably not the biggest deal. We have all the way until February, March to really start turning this on, making it opt in, and start, you know, making it opt out shortly thereafter.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So that is, yeah. So just to kind of summarize where we are. Yeah. So still in terms of 13.3 planning. So yeah, high priorities, wrapping up support for the additional blob types. Package file replication is going to be released in 13.2. Getting started on snippet replication, and then these testing and support issues, specifically Gitly cluster and adding support for Patroni on the Geo secondary. I think Douglas is continuing to make a lot of progress on backfill operations and I think we can expect to have foreign data wrappers removed this milestone, but we might need to check in with him there over the next couple of scheduling calls. And then I think the only one that doesn't really have a clear engineering lead or someone kind of moving this forward are these documentation ones for a planned failover. So you'll likely hear me keep talking about it and trying to suggest them to different people until until we end up having someone on them. But that's kind of one I have. I'm going to have my eye on. And then finally, front-end stuff. I think, Zach, you're going to be working on some back-end related stuff for the self-service front end. So that is awesome. Thank you for doing that. And then we also have the new design from, or design proposal from Sunjung and in an issue, and everyone's provided some really great feedback on that. So hopefully we'll see some updates there, and hopefully have some new designs that we can start working on in the coming weeks. Yeah, I think that does it for the Outlook. I'll stop sharing my screen, and I will stop recording.